Hi there, I'm Jen, this is Remembered Reads, and this is going to be the drunk book tag. I was tagged by Amaraiska 2 years ago, in May of 2017, so I apologize for taking so long to get to this. But I am getting caught up on tags. I only have one more from 2017 to get to. I will link to her video below, and I believe this tag was created by Julie from Pages and Pens, so I will link to her original video below as well. And I haven't prepared for this, so we'll see how this goes. Question number 1 is wine coolers. You're 16 and you finally managed to sneak one of your mom's Smirnoff Ices. What is one of your most guilty pleasure reads? I find the idea of my mother drinking Smirnoff Ice hilarious. Anyway. What are my guilty pleasures? My guilty pleasures are media tie-in books. I especially enjoy a lot of the tie-ins for some of the BioWare games. I really enjoyed a lot of the Dragon Age novels were a lot of fun. Asunder, that was written by David Gator, who used to be the lead writer on it. And there was a comic book series that David Gator had written as well that was great. There are several other less great books in that series. But I mean, but most of them are actually passable. Franchise fiction like that tends to be the bottom of the barrel even within commercial fiction. So that should be a guilty pleasure, but I don't honestly feel guilty about it. I think the books are fun. Question number 2 is beer. You've made it to college and are hosting your first kegger. Pick your favorite new adult or college-aged book. This is probably not what the question intends, but because I was a commuter student when I was in university, the biggest block of time for me was my commute most of the time. And in Shyam Salvadori's The Hungry Ghosts, the main character, which is clearly based slightly on the author because this was true for him too, went to grad school at the same university that I went to undergrad at, and lived more or less in the same neighborhood that I lived in when I was in university, so his commute was basically the same. So I enjoyed the part of that book where he talks about the lengthy commute. I feel like that's probably not in the spirit of the question, but truth. Question number 3 is tequila. You partied too hard last night and drank a little too much Jose Cuervo. What's a book that you never want to see again, or what's your least favorite book? Well, the book that I complained about the most, because I read it for a book club that was run by 2 good friends of mine, so I didn't feel compelled to read it, and that I ended up ranting about for hours, and now talk about how I ranted about for hours, was Dan Brown's Angels and Demons, which is in the same series about the whatever character from Da Vinci Code and all that. I loathe all of those. So yeah, I'd rather not see them again. But I actually did have fun ranting about it at the book club. Question number 4 is beer bong. What's a book that you read super fast? Well, if you watched my last wrap-up, I talked about what was packaged like a graphic novel, but was really a collection of basically greeting card type comic strips, and that took like 15 minutes to read practically. I read that super quickly because there wasn't much to it. Number 5 is Spring Break. You've thrown your inhibitions to the wind and end up having a sexy night you'll never forget. What is your favorite smutty read? What was that book that I don't remember who the author was, but there was a romance novel that I read last year called Winning Ruby Heart, which like surprised me because it looked like a generic category romance, although it was much longer than those normally are, so maybe that helped. But it turned out to actually have lots of interesting things to say about gender in sport and like disability in the media and all kinds of stuff, which was impressive. But because this is about smut, I will also say that it had probably the least cringeworthy sex scenes in any explicit-ish romance that I've ever seen. I think there was only one sentence that made me go, oh, come on. Whereas with most of them I just skip the sex scenes because they are almost uniformly terrible, but that one, they were not terrible. Number 6 is Screwdriver. What is the most twisted book you've ever read? I don't know about the most twisted book I've ever read, but I think the most twisted material tends to be in grimdark fantasy. And in Richard Morgan's The Steel Remains, there is a death, well, there's a reference multiple times to a form of execution that basically results in people being impaled in such a way that they will live for several days and die this slow, agonizing death. And it comes up multiple times because the main character had a boyfriend who was killed in this manner, so he's like flashing back to it frequently. Yeah, twisted way to kill someone. I don't know if that's the kind of answer that we're looking for. Although frankly, a lot of grimdark fantasy is, you know, coming up with terrible ways to kill people, so there are a lot of books that could fit in that. Question number 7 is Long Island iced tea, the melting pot of alcoholic beverages. What is one of your favorite diverse reads? I will name one of my favorite books of all time, The Quiet Violence of Dreams by Case Hello Diker, which is about people mostly in Cape Town. It has characters who are not just different races, but different language backgrounds and different ethnic backgrounds. There are characters who have mental health issues, and characters who are amputees, and characters who are immigrants from the Congo, and immigrants from Germany, and immigrants from Zimbabwe. And there are characters who speak about 14 different languages. And the two main characters are a straight woman and a gay man, and, you know, so yeah, I think that qualifies. But I think most of the books I've mentioned previously also qualify. Question 8 is Sex on the Beach. A drink that's great in theory, but wasn't exactly all it was cracked up to be. What is a book that just didn't live up to the hype? The last disappointing book that I read was a non-fiction short piece about the history of curation as an art by David Balzer. It was called Curationism. It was just written in the most ridiculous style. It was almost horrific. I genuinely thought it was stylistically meant to be a parody until it went on for 90 pages, and I went, no, this is genuine, and it was ridiculous. Question number 9 is wine. You've just gone through a rough breakup, so you park yourself in bed with your favorite bottle of wine, some ice cream, and a bucket for your tears. Name a book that made you cry out all your feels. Now, no book has ever made me cry as hard as the Dead Babies chapter in Caitlin Doughty's memoir, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. That was just the saddest thing. I think that's probably more serious than what this question wants you to answer, but that is genuinely a weep-worthy chapter. Chapter 10 is Strip Club. What's the sexiest naked book? Okay, I can have a good answer to that. Look at this. This is the absolute authority, which I think I've talked about this a couple of times already, because I still can't believe what a good price I got this for. But is that not beautiful? Like, I could put that on display. I actually plan to put this on display once I move again. I love that. It's gorgeous. I think that was the last question. Now I'm going to tag some people. I'm going to try to do what I've been doing the last couple of times, and I'm gonna look at the comments on my last video, and I'm going to try to tag a couple of people that I haven't tagged before and who are fairly new, either to my channel or to BookTube in general. And as always, if you haven't done this tag yourself and you'd like to be tagged, please consider yourself tagged. Okay, that's it for now. Ciao.